Fearscape Media Network, exploring the unknown, one podcast at a time. Who is the Slender Man? Coming to the Fearscape Media Network, FSMN's first ever mega October network crossover event, The Slender Man. Featuring 3 of your favorite network podcasts covering the Slender Man in all his slender glory. On October 1st, you'll hear Ghosts in the Attic, Bodies in the Basement, covering the Slender Man stabbing, where 2 12-year-old girls lured their friend into a forest and stabbed her 19 times in attempt to become proxies of the fictional character, the Slender Man. On October 6th, Fearscape Paranormal Podcasts will be covering the legend, lore, and creepypasta of the Slender Man. And finally, on October 12th, join the Misters of the Dark as they cover the 2018 horror film Slender Man, just in time for the Halloween season. Go to fearscapemedia.com or wherever you stream your favorite Fearscape Media Network podcasts. Happy Halloween!
Ghosts in the Attics, Bodies in the Basements may contain graphic, violent, vulgar, or explicit content not suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Ghosts in the Attics, Bodies in the Basement. I'm Anna.
And I'm Lindsey. And just a fair warning to everybody on this episode, we're having some major technical difficulties tonight.
I feel like we've been saying that for the last forever. Zoom hates us, even though we pay for a premium service. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm honestly considering putting in some sort of support ticket, if that's even a thing, because we did not have issues until we started paying for premium.
Yeah. And I can't even get the damn app to open on my computer, so I'm having to record on my phone. So if for any reason I sound off or echoey, I really do apologize.
Yeah, so we're just trying to make it work, y'all.
We're struggle bussing today.
And it's not even the fact that our apps are up to date. I actually just did an update, and I know that it doesn't matter if this is an audio podcast, but I can't even use my camera because it makes the entire app freeze for me.
Right. And it's so frustrating too, because part of the fun of recording is getting to see each other's reactions. And
exactly. Yeah.
It kind of takes away the excitement of it all.
Yeah. So Zoom, we're disappointed in you. And why are we paying for this service for nothing?
Get it together, Zoom. God. All right, so since we last spoke, I have officially started my new job.
Yay, how's that been going?
It's going really well. I'm still anxious as fuck that I don't know what I'm doing or doing it well enough, but I feel like that's me with any new situation.
Yeah, that's understandable, but I know you, and I know that you're rocking it.
I'm trying. We're doing all kinds of little marketing things and little goodies to give out and stuff like that. And, who doesn't like free stuff?
Yeah.
But it's good. I have been running all over Hell and Creation.
Oh, yeah.
Just trying to go to trainings and meet other colleagues that do what I do, but they're in different locations than I'm in. And so it's been a lot of driving and listening to podcasts. So, good times.
Fun.
And bonus episode coming soon. We finished A Simple Favor, and we have opinions.
Lots of opinions, y'all.
So many. I still need to rewatch the DVD, but
I actually did watch the movie.
yeah, I say DVD because I can't find it to stream anywhere without having to pay for it. But I have the DVD, so I'm just gonna watch it. I'm old school.
See, I know that we watched the movie years ago, and even the whole time I listened to the book, I was like, I don't remember this in the movie. I don't remember this in the movie. But then watching the movie, I was like, okay, hold up. Maybe the book wasn't so bad.
I don't know. I still think, well, we'll get into it on a bonus episode.
I have like a whole list of notes of things to talk about.
Go for hours about nonsense that is that movie. But any hoozles. So.
Oh, don't forget though that you can join our book club on GoodReads.
GoodReads.
The link is in the show notes.
It's in the show notes, or every time we post a post, we do our link tree. That's how you can find us on any social platform: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the GoodReads, GoodReads Facebook. No, GoodReads book club group, and then also it takes you to all the God, I can't talk.
Podcast platforms.
Blah blah.
And our
blah.
merch store.
And our merch store, which I forget we have, but
I forget too. You all go buy merch if you like our show.
Since I get big girl money now, I'm gonna go buy me some swag from our store.
I know, right? I need to do that.
I want more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I know we have our hostess shirts that are like exclusive to us, but like part of me really wants just like our official merch so I can be like, hey, this is our merch.
So I have on a sweatshirt that I got at a vintage store in town.
I love it.
Stuff. It has the Golden Girls in cartoon form with witches hats on. It says, "In a world full of witches, stay golden." I am obsessed. It is like 100 degrees outside, and yes, I'm wearing a sweater.
I adore that though. Although, why is Sophia bigger than everybody else?
I know, because I mean, she's the boss.
She's the head witch in charge.
Yeah, right. It's been a long AF day for me. So I'm drinking wine this episode. So if I get a little goofy, y'all are welcome.
Yeah, we're actually recording for the first time pretty late. Yeah, we usually record early in the day. But, you know, like shit happens, life happens, and here we are. But we showed up.
Yep, we're here. We're ready.
Despite our Zoom issues.
We're ready to get Zoom to fix their problems. But beyond that, we're down to clown.
Though, I'm going to, if anybody knows how to fix these bugs, or maybe I do need to contact Zoom, but like just let us know because this is so frustrating.
My fucking computer probably needs an update that I don't know about because it hasn't told me it needs one. And my work laptop had like 45 updates.
Oh my gosh.
But it never once asked me to update this damn laptop. And I took it to the IT department. They're like, "Oh, honey, you have a lot of updates." I was like, "Oh, do I?" They didn't tell me. I
don't know what the problem is with mine. I even just uninstalled and reinstalled, like, is we have like a Canon camera that can be used for webcamming. Like people use it a lot for streaming and stuff. So I completely reinstalled all my drivers and thinking maybe that was the problem. That didn't fix it. I updated my Zoom. That didn't fix it. My computer does not have any updates. So I don't know what's going on. I think it's Zoom.
Listen, our husbands are the tech guys. We're not.
I'm wanting some decent stuff.
I know enough to get the day, but if anything breaks or glitches out, I'm like, "Alan, help."
Right. Yeah, same.
Finding a girlfriend, but it's okay because that's what he does for a living. So I feel like if he needs marketing and networking advice and like how to make cutesy little presents to give to people, he can ask me. Till then, I'm useless, but that's okay. I'll stay in my lane and he can stay in his, and we can help each other when it's possible.
I always tell my husband, I'm always like, "Yeah, but can you write a book?" And you know what he says to me? "I could if I sat down and tried."
Oh, men. I could if I tried. Well, then try. We'll probably read it, although you don't read our books.
It'd be like an instruction manual on how to build your own computer or to build your own desk, build your desk that is a computer. My husband is highly intelligent. I will not discount that, but I'm the
If
creative
I
one.
wrote a book, it would be called "The Shit I Put Up With and the Assholes I Have to Deal With." I swear, because he is always cranky lately, and it's always work related.
Funny.
And like, I feel you, but I don't, because I don't work at your job, so I sympathize, but I can't
Empathize. Yeah, feel that.
He's taking vacation. He's ready for it. So.
I bet he deserves it.
He does. He's a workhorse, and they know it, and they take advantage of that.
Oh, isn't that the best?
Always do your job, and 7 people's on top of it. But we won't give you more money. Good times. Wait, this is a true crime paranormal podcast, guys. We forgot.
Oh yeah, we usually save our rambling for the end, but it's all around backwards day to day, guys.
Not even just that. Since I've started my job, have barely gotten to talk. So
yeah,
it's like my friend time, but also like work time.
Right.
I get to multitask. Woo! So today I am covering a true crime, but not like one that has a happy ending, because it's a disappearance case.
Oh.
So I came across the TikTok of this girl talking about, why is this not talked about more? And I was like, okay. So I did some research, and holy crap, why is this not talked about more? So we're going to be talking today about Maura Murray, and she vanished without a trace.
Ooh.
Yeah. So the article I'm looking at currently came out in 2019, and the disappearance was 15 years ago then. So 19, 20. So 17 years ago. Sorry, I had to do math, and I'm drinking wine.
I can't do math on a good day.
I can't math at all. I grew
used
up
to know calculus.
I went to a school in the middle of a cornfield. All my teachers were coaches. I didn't learn shit. I just watched a lot of music videos. True facts. So 17 years ago, Maura vanished without a trace. Monday, February 9th, 2004, the 21-year-old nursing student who was born in Hanson, Massachusetts, packed up her dorm room, withdrew money from her bank account, and contacted her professor to let him know that she would be missing that week's classes due to a death in the family. Yeah, except there were no deaths in that family.
Oh.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, who hasn't lied to get out of a situation?
I was about to say, that's a pretty common, like, oh, my grandma died. And it's like, haven't you had 6 grandmas die?
Right. So, and she headed north to White Mountains in her black 1996 Saturn. That day's accident report from Haverhill, New Hampshire, police states that at 7:27, Maura crashed her car into a tree on Wild, and I'm going to say this wrong, I apologize, Amarocus Road. I gave it my best shot, in Woodsville, New Hampshire. The police were notified of the accident at like 7:35 and arrived on the scene around 7:45. The officer who filled out the report said, evidence at the scene indicated that the vehicle had been eastbound and gone off the roadway, struck some trees, spun around, and came to a rest facing the wrong way in the eastbound lane. The windshield had been cracked and damaged, was done to the driver's side, front end, passenger side, and rear driver's side, and rear passenger side of the vehicle.
And
I know. Well, I mean, if you think about it, she spun around.
yeah, she spun hitting trees and stuff.
Multiple things.
Yeah.
Very dangerous. So the fact that this is a missing persons case without any other knowledge of this, I was like immediately, oh my God, she got a concussion. She walked off, got lost.
Oh.
But it's a disappearance case. It's a missing persons case still. So here we go. When investigating, the police found the car locked and with the driver nowhere in sight.
Oh, that's odd.
So she was gone.
And locked the car behind her.
And apparently locked her car. So witnesses who spoke to the police said that there was a young female behind the wheel and no one else was in the vehicle.
Okay.
Despite being told by the driver not to notify the authorities. But this man called anyway. Good for him.
Yeah, for real, good.
I mean, like I said, maybe she had a small brain injury, or maybe she was drunk. I don't know. There's so much to speculate when things like this happen.
Yeah.
Like, lied about where she was going and why she was leaving. And now she's been in an accident and don't call the cops. That's so
suspicious. It is, yeah. That's odd. Especially with how damaged her car was. She had to have been hurt.
Right. He says, in plain sight, in plain sight behind the driver's seat of the vehicle, I could see a box of Franzia wine. And I drink a lot of wine, and that's not the good stuff, but it'll get you by in a pinch. It also says, I could see red liquid on the driver's side door and ceiling of the car, the officer wrote in his report. Now, before the car was towed, the officer recovered a Coke bottle that contained a red liquid that was smelling strong of alcohol.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't think you should drink and drive. That's irresponsible. It's not safe for you or anybody else on the road.
Right, right.
But if you're gonna be stupid, be a little smarter about it. Coke and wine are not the same color. Just saying. The Boston Globe published an article 6 days after she disappeared, and it stated, quote, tracking dogs, helicopters, and trained searchers, local and state police, as well as a state fish and gaming officers covered nearly 20 miles along Route 112, but found no trace of Murray. Her footprints in the snow, the tracking dogs lost her scent within 100 feet of the accident. Lead investigators and her loved ones to believe she either hitchhiked a ride and continued on her way, or she was abducted. So that's terrifying. Yeah. Because like I said, I suspect she may have had like a concussion and may not have been lucid enough to know what the fuck she was getting herself into.
Right.
Or maybe she was running from something and saw it as a way to escape without being found. I don't know.
Yeah.
The woman had blue eyes, brown hair, and stood around 5'7". She was last seen in jeans and a dark colored coat. And since that night, the completed case has yet to be solved. Her background and events leading up to the night only muddy the waters. She was born on May 4th of 82 to Frederick and Lori Murray. She grew up to become a track star at her high school, and she studied chemical engineering at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point before transferring to UMass 3 semesters later and switching her field to nursing. She ran into trouble in Amherst in November of 2003 when she was arrested for improper use of a credit card under $250. The Amherst police log from that time, a woman called and reported an unknown subject who used her card to make a purchase at various restaurants, stores, and towns in the area, adding she didn't know if she had lost her card or if it was stolen. Yeah. So she has kind of a, curious path.
A little bit of a background, but it doesn't seem like a background that's bad enough to want to just drop off.
Right. Now, prior to her disappearance on November 3rd, 2003, 3 months before the disappearance, she admitted to using a stolen credit card to order food from several restaurants, including one in Hadley, Massachusetts. The charge was continued in December to be dismissed after 3 months of good behavior. On February 5th of 2004, Murray spoke on the phone with her older sister, Kathleen, while she was on duty at her campus security job. They discussed relationship problems with Kathleen's fiance, and around 10:30 p.m., while she was still on shift, Murray reportedly broke down in tears. When her supervisor arrived at her desk, she was just completely zoned out, no reaction at all. She was unresponsive, the superior said. And he escorted Murray back to her dorm room around 1:20 a.m. And when she was asked what was wrong, she said, "My sister." The contents of the call remained unknown until October of 2017, when Kathleen publicly explained the conversation. In a recording, Kathleen, a recovering alcoholic, had been discharged from a rehab clinic that evening and was on the way home, and her fiance took her to a liquor store, which caused an emotional breakdown. Which, I mean, obviously, very supportive, very enabling of him.
Yeah,
no,
that's
I
not
don't,
cool.
I don't like that at all. That's not cool. Now, on February 7th, her father, Fred, arrived in Amherst. He told investigators that he and Murray went car shopping that afternoon, and later they went to dinner with a friend of his daughter's. Murray dropped off her father at his motel, and borrowing his Toyota Corolla, returned to campus attending a dorm party. She arrived at 10:30. At 2:30 on a Sunday, February 8th, she left the party. Now at 3:30 a.m., she was en route to her father's motel. She struck a guardrail on Route 9 in Hadley, causing nearly $10,000 worth of damage to her father's car.
Oh, dang.
The responding officer wrote an accident report, but there is no documentation of a field sobriety test being conducted. She was driven to her father's motel and stayed in his room till 4:49 a.m. and there was a cell phone call placed to her boyfriend from Fred's phone. So maybe a drunk dial type situation. The participants and contents of the call are unknown. Later that morning, Fred learned the damage to his vehicle would be covered by his insurance. Praise God. Yeah. And he rented a car, dropped his daughter off at the university, and departed to Connecticut. At 11:30 that night, Fred called his daughter to remind her to obtain accident forms for the DMV, and they talked on Monday night to discuss the forms that she had filled out for the insurance claim over the phone. So when she disappeared on February 9th, 2004, after midnight, it says after midnight on Monday, February 9th, she used her personal computer to search MapQuest for directions to Berkshire and Burlington, Vermont. Her first report of contact Murray had with anyone on February 9th was at 1 p.m. She emailed her boyfriend, "I love you, Morstead. I got your message, but honestly, I didn't feel like talking much to anyone. I promised to call today, though. Love you, Moira." Or Mura.
Maura.
You are. I'm going to call her Moira. And it says she also made a phone call inquiring about renting a condominium in Bartlett, New Hampshire, condo association with her family vacation in the past. Telephone records indicated that the call lasted around 3 minutes. The owner did not rent the condo to her, and at 1:13 she called a fellow nursing student for unknown reasons. At 1:24 she emailed her supervisor at the nursing school facility, that she would be out of town due to the family emergency because someone died. She also said she would contact them when she returned. That seems responsible. Well, at 2:05, she called a number which provides a recorded information of booking hotels to Stowe, Vermont. And that approximately lasted around 5 minutes. At 2:18, she telephoned her boyfriend, left him a voicemail promising him they would talk later. This call ended after about a minute. So she packed clothing, toiletries, college textbooks, her birth control, and her room was later searched by campus police, discovering that most of her belongings packed in boxes and Art was removed from the wall. It's not clear whether she had packed them that day, but police said that the time she had packed between Sunday night and Monday morning. On top of the boxes was a printed email to her boyfriend indicating trouble in their relationship. And at 3:30 p.m., she drove off campus in her 1996 Saturn sedan. Classes at the university had been canceled that day to a snowstorm. She withdrew $280 from an ATM at 3:40 p.m. Closed circuit footage showed she was alone and near a liquor store. She purchased about $40 worth of alcoholic beverages, including Kahlua, Bailey's, vodka, and a box of Franzia. Footage.
Oh, that was a good deal.
Right, that's a lot for a little. It again showed that she made that purchase, and at some point in the day, she also picked up an accident report form from the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles, probably to give to her dad. She left Amherst between 4 and 5, presumably going down Interstate 91 northbound. She checked her voicemail at 4:37. That was the last recorded use of her cell phone. To date, there is no indication she had informed anyone of her destination or any evidence that she had a chosen one. At 7:27, the car was reported to have been like in the accident. And according to 911 logs, the woman claimed to have seen a man smoking a cigarette inside the car. However, she later stated that she had not seen a man nor a person smoking a cigarette, but rather what seemed to be a red light glowing from inside the car, potentially from a cell phone. About that same time, another neighbor saw the car as well as someone walking around the vehicle. She witnessed a third neighbor pull up alongside the vehicle. The neighborhood school bus driver was returning home and noticed a young woman that was not bleeding or visibly injured, but cold and shivering. He offered to telephone for her help, and she asked him not to call the police. She pleaded, he said. She assured him she had called AAA. Yet there had been no record that any such call was made to AAA. Now, there was no cellular reception in the area. The bus driver continued home and then phoned the police. His call was received by the sheriff's department at 7:43. He was unable to see Maura's car, and he made the call, but noticed several cars passing on the road before the police arrived. Another local resident driving home from work claims she passed by the scene about 7:37, saw a police SUV parked face to face with the car in question. She pulled over briefly and did not see anyone inside the car and decided to continue home. This witness statement contradicts the official police log, which Havern Hill police said they arrived 9 minutes later from the original call. According to the official police log at 7:46, the police arrived at the scene and no one was inside the car. The car had impacted on trees and the driver's side of the vehicle was severely damaged. The left headlight was pushed out of the car. The radiator, I can't talk. The left headlight and was damaged and pushing the car's radiator into the fan, rendering it inoperable. I am not a car person. However, that sounds pretty dangerous. Like she could have died, so I'm glad she didn't. The car's windshield was cracked on the driver's side. Both airbags had deployed, but the car was locked. Inside the car, he discovered red stains that looked like red wine. Inside, they also found empty beer bottles, a damaged box of Franzia on the rear seat. In addition, they found a AAA card issued to her, blank accident report forms, gloves, compact discs, makeup, diamond jewelry, directions to Burlington, Vermont, her favorite stuffed animal, and Not Without Peril, a book about mountain climbing into the White Mountains. Missing were her debit card, credit cards, cell phone, none of which had been located or used since the disappearance. The police later reported that bottles of liquor were also missing. Journalist Joe McGee, writing for the Quincy, Massachusetts Patriot Ledger, summarized the incident, quote, "At hairpin turn, she went off the road. Her car hit a tree, and at that point, a person came along who was driving a bus. It was a neighbor. He asked if she needed help. She refused. About 10 minutes later, the police show up, and Maura Murray was gone." So to recap, she lied that there was a death in the family. She said she called AAA when she got in the accident, and she didn't. So what actually happened?
She begged for the police to not come.
She begged for them not to come. Was it because she was drinking and driving? So that being said, the responding officer and the bus driver drove around the area searching for her before 8 p.m. EMS and fire trucks arrived by 8:49. The car had been towed to a local garage, and about 9:30, the responding officers left. A rag believed to have been part of her emergency roadside kit was discovered stuffed into a muffler pipe of her car. The authorities refer to her disappearance as simply missing at 12 the next day. At almost 24 hours later, she was 24 hours later confirmed sight of her. So after 24 hours of like the last confirmed sighting, they said she was missing. There were tons of search efforts. We're talking every which way but loose. Like these people went all out. They did a be on the lookout report from Murray was issued. She was reported wearing a dark coat, jeans, and a black backpack. They talked about the voicemail she left on her father's answering machine at 3:20, stating that her car had been found abandoned, or that they had left on her father's machine. Sorry, I can't read today. He was working out of state and did not receive calls after 5 p.m. Her older sister contacted her father to tell him the situation. He then contacted the police department that told him if his daughter was not reported safe by the following morning, the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department would start search at 5:17 p.m. Murray was the first referred to as missing by the Haven Police Department on February 11th. Her father arrived in Haven Hill by dawn, and at 8 a.m. the Fish and Game Department and the Murrays and others began to track and trace for her. So they had a police dog for scent with one of her gloves. He tracked it about 100 yards from where the vehicle had been discovered, but then they lost the scent. This suggested to the police that she left the area in a vehicle. At 5 o'clock, the boyfriend and his parents arrived, and he was interrogated in private and then was joined by his parents for questioning. At 7 p.m., the police said that they believed she came to the area either to run away or attempt suicide. Her family believed this was highly unlikely. Her boyfriend had turned his cell phone off during his flight to Haven Hill. At some point, he received a voicemail that he believed sounded like her sobbing.
Oh.
The call was traced to a calling card issued to the American Red Cross. So on the 12th of February, her father, her boyfriend, held an evening press conference. The next day, the press coverage was published at 3:05. The police reported she might be headed to Camagus. I can't say that, sorry. Highway area, and she was listed as endangered and possibly suicidal. The police also reported she was intoxicated at the crash site. Although the bus driver had said she did not appear impaired, the police chief said, "Our concern is that she's upset or suicidal." A week after her disappearance, her boyfriend and father were interviewed by CNN's American Morning, and they explained their search in the Vermont area, the dismay at the authorities about how she had not been found or informed of her disappearance. Although the missing persons case are normally handled by local or state police, the FBI joined this investigation after just 10 days of disappearance, and they interviewed the family from Massachusetts and the Haven Hill Good gracious. Police chief announced that the search was now nationwide. 10 days after her disappearance, New Hampshire Fish and Game conducted a second ground and air search using a helicopter, thermal imaging cameras, cadaver dogs. Her older sister discovered a ripped white pair of women's underwear laying in the snow in a secluded trail near French Pond Road on February 26th, but DNA found that it did not belong to her.
What got the FBI involved?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's all the weird stuff that she said that was going on that actually wasn't going on. And so who knows? But yeah, the FBI,
that we aren't being told if FBI is involved.
That's a real possibility, because with it being an open cold case, they can't give out all the information.
Exactly, yeah.
So at the end of February, the police returned the items found in her car to her family. On March 2nd, the family checked out of their motel, exhausted from the search. Fred returned nearly every weekend to continue searching. In April, the Havern Hill police informed him of complaints of trespassing on private property. In March of 2004, disappearance of Brianna Maitland in Montgomery, Vermont, 66 miles away from Murray's last known sighting in Woodsville, drew comparisons from the media, law enforcement, due to similarities in the disappearance. However, the police have stated there are no links between the two cases. In April and again in June, New Hampshire and Vermont police dismissed any connection between Murray's case and Matlin's case. In a press release, they stated they believed that Maura was headed for an unknown destination and may have had accompanied a ride from someone else in order to continue to her designation. But nobody knows what that designation was. Nobody can confirm that she got a ride. They have no evidence that a crime had been committed. They dismissed the possibility of a serial killer being involved. So now we move to July 2004 through to December 2005. July 1st, police retrieve items that had been found in her vehicle from her family for forensic analysis. On the 13th of July, 1 mile radius search was performed. Nearly 100 searchers, including state troopers, rescue personnel, and volunteers, chipped in to try to find this woman. It was a fourth search they had conducted around the crash area, and the first search performed without snow on the ground. Authorities were most interested in locating the black backpack she had in her possession, but was not found in the car. Police stated that they searched and discovered nothing conclusive. In 2004, a man allegedly gave Maura's father a rusty, stained knife that belonged to the man's older brother, who he claimed had a criminal past and lived less than a mile from where the car was discovered. His brother and his brother's girlfriend were said to have allegedly acted strangely after the disappearance. The man's brother claimed he believed the knife had been used to kill Murray. Several days after the knife was given to her father, the man's brother allegedly scraped his Volvo. Family members of the man who turned the knife in claimed he made up the story in order to obtain reward money in the investigation, and that he had drug abuse issues. Which, I mean, that I can't even imagine how heartbroken you must be that somebody is missing, and then somebody gives you a slight glimmer of hope just to find out, like, nope, it's just for fraud purpose. 2005, Fred Murray petitioned the New Hampshire Governor Craig Benson for help in the search and appeared on Montel Williams in 2004 to publicize the case. On February 9th of 2005, the first anniversary of her disappearance, a service was held where the car was found, and her father met briefly with New Hampshire Governor John Lynch. In 2005, Fred filed suit against several law enforcement agencies with the aim of seeking files on the case. Seems fair. He wants to see what they.
Yeah.
On the first, a user named Todd Davies logged into a message board called Not Without Peril, which was dedicated to the discussion on her case, and claimed to have seen the backpack behind a restroom at around 30 miles from East Woodville on Route 122. So somewhere close to where
nearby,
she wrecked it. And Murray had owned a black backpack. So they got excited. Senior Assistant Attorney General Jeffrey Sterling, yeah, we'll go with that, stated that law enforcement was aware of the backpack, but did not disclose whether it had been taken to be forensically tested. They had subsequent searches. I mean, from 2006 to 2010, they searched high and low and they found nothing. Yeah. So now we're up to 2011 to the present. In 2014, the 10th anniversary of her disappearance, Sterling stated, "We haven't had any credible sightings of Maura since the night she disappeared." In an article published in the New York Daily News on the 10th anniversary of his daughter's disappearance, it was reported that Fred Murray believed she was dead and had been abducted the night of her disappearance. On February 9th of 2017, the 13th anniversary of her disappearance, Sterling wrote an email to the Boston Globe. "It's still an open case with periods of activity. At times, it goes dormant. There are new updates at this time." Then why the fuck say anything? But anyway.
Probably just to keep it on people's minds.
I guess, but I mean, they say no news is good news, but not in this case.
Yeah.
In 2019, in February to be precise, the 15th anniversary of her disappearance, Fred retired his belief of his daughter being dead, as well as his suspicions about the nearby house that cadaver dogs responded to, stating, "That's my daughter, I do believe." In early April, excavation was done within the basement of the house. Fred Murray had previously wanted to search the home, but the owners did not cooperate. Following the sale of the property, the new owners agreed to the search. The excavation concluded in early April, found absolutely nothing other than what appears to be a piece of pottery and old piping.
Well,
so,
let's be honest, the people, if there was anything suspicious there, they packed it up and took it with them when they moved.
More than likely. Her disappearance has been cited as the first crime mystery of the social media age.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I started doing research. Speculation from the media and public, specifically the internet and online forum message boards. Writing for the Boston Globe magazine in 2014, Billy Jensen, we know that name.
Yeah.
Noted, now at least online, it often seems as there's no such thing as a cold case, but when Maura Murray disappeared, the social web was in its infancy. There was no YouTube and no Twitter. On the day Maura went missing, Facebook was 5 days old. Holy crap.
Oh, God.
And you can read the history of her case as a parable about the evolution of online sleuthing. In 2005, active discussions of Maura's disappearance was documented on websleuths.com, and in 2007, Facebook and MySpace pages were created dedicated to help finding her. On the internet, her disappearance is the perfect obsession, a puzzle of clues that offers tantalizing illusion. In the right armchair detective connects the right dots, maybe this unsolved case can be solved. And so every day the case attracts new recruits, analyzing and detecting and reconstructing all the details of her story with a Warren Crimson-like fever. Billy Jensen, Boston Globe, or Boston Magazine, 2014. So I wish I had a happy ending. I don't, and I really hate that. This was covered on 2020. This was also there was 2 episodes on Disappeared, season 1 and season 4. Season 1, episode 6, season 4, episode 7. Oxygen produced a 6-part television documentary miniseries called The Disappearance of Maura Murray, hosted by Maggie Friglin. She's a journalist. Her disappearance was the subject of a non-fiction thriller, True Crime Addict, How I Lost Myself in the Mysterious Disappearance of Maura Murray by James Renner. And there's a podcast dedicated solely to the disappearance, Missing Maura Murray, and the podcast Crime Junkie did a 2-part series on the case, as did the podcast True Crime Garage. And so did we just now.
Yeah, just now.
Not that we're going to make a Wikipedia page, but you never know.
Right. Well, I guess technically we could add it, but I don't know how to do that.
I don't want to do that. That seems weird.
But
super fucked up. Do you have thoughts?
I feel like the easy answer is she ran away, right?
Right.
But then there's no trace whatsoever. And the things that lead me to think run away, even if it was just temporary, like maybe she did just need to check out and get away for a little bit, is like her dorm room was packed.
Yeah.
You know, and like February is not the end of a semester. It's not when you'd be moving out of your dorm. And
not unless you're intending to drop out.
Yeah, true. I feel like she was trying to get away. That's why I feel like she was trying to get away without making it look like she was trying to get away. Hence leaving the important stuff like her favorite childhood stuffed animal in the car, but she took her cell phone and all of her money.
Right.
But then maybe somebody did abduct her after that. Maybe she tried to like hitchhike. We all know the horrors of hitchhiking.
But yeah, I think maybe she had a concussion and somebody took advantage of that.
Yeah, very possible. And especially if she was already planning to go away, like to disappear or whatever. So then she's gonna be like, hey, I just gotta get out of here. And then, yeah, we can get you out of here. And then God knows what happened.
Well, I mean, there's so many different instances where, as horrible as it is to say, one wrong turn, one misstep,
right,
one let down of your judgment or your guard, and then bam, you're dead. You've been kidnapped, you've been abducted or murdered or whatever. And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. If she did just disappear for whatever reason, I hope she's okay.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine just wanting to leave your family hurting like that for so long. So I feel like probably something more to it, especially if the FBI is involved.
I wonder if she got like amnesia and had no idea who she was.
Well, but if it became a nationwide search, if she had amnesia and she showed up anywhere, somebody would have recognized her.
Yeah.
Theoretically speaking, anyways.
Yeah, it's so bizarre and it was so intriguing. I had to cover it.
Yeah, I think I've heard of it. I know I heard about it to an extent. I never knew all these details. Like I knew about the car breaking down or the accident or whatever, and the bus driver being who came across her.
Right. Well, the fact that there were so many witnesses, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's eerie. And I hope that her family is able to find some peace there.
I agree. It's just so heartbreaking all the way around.
It really is.
Okay, well, enough doom and gloom. What are you covering this week?
I'm covering doom and gloom in a different way, I guess.
But sorry, okay. It's a heavy episode, listeners.
Oh no, mine's not heavy. It's just you'll understand.
Oh, gotcha.
I actually did not know what I was going to cover because like we always plan. I think we've mentioned before we have like a list of things that we want to cover, but sometimes like when you're looking over the list, it's like, I don't really feel like reading about that or talking about that or whatever. And so I was sitting here for like ever, basically since our last episode, like I have no idea what I'm going to cover. And then, like I was even like looking up like haunted places near me and like all sorts of shit, just trying to get some ideas. And I just was not feeling anything. But then one night, a few nights ago, my 10-year-old comes up to me. She's having like a really emotionally rough day learning about like friends are sometimes the mean people in your life. And it's just like a really hard time. Came to me. And if y'all don't know her, most of you who are listening to this, she is at that age where she is most definitely in her room talking to her friends on Zoom or FaceTime or whatever and playing video games. So, but she actually came out to me and asked if we could watch Death Note together, which is an anime. And so I was like, of course. Because, you know, like my big doesn't want anything to do with me kid came and asked to spend time with me.
Yeah.
And so like we ended up ordering pizza for dinner and we just binge watched it. It ended up being a whole family affair. By the time the pizza got there, we moved into the living room. My husband gets home from work. He's watching it with us. Like it was like a whole ordeal, even though she ended up just abandoning us and going back to playing video games, talking to different friends who were nice. But she would come in periodically and check, see where we were, see how we were reacting and stuff like that. But for starters, I have to talk about this because we are also a true crime podcast. Death Note is an anime. It's on Netflix. Make sure you watch the actual anime and not the Netflix live action. I've never watched it.
The live action I heard is horrible compared to the anime.
Yeah, she said that it is a ripoff. That was her words. That is such a ripoff. Like, I watched the first 10 minutes of it and just turned it off. It was so bad. That's what she said. Because I actually clicked the live actions. I just saw Death Note. Like, the way the little thumbnail was on Netflix wasn't clear if it was live action or anime that I was clicking on until I clicked on it.
Right.
So, like, yeah, make sure you watch the actual anime. But basically, there's this notebook called the Death Note that gets dropped down into the human world, and whoever possesses the book can write a name in it, and that person dies. And like they either die of just like a heart attack, or you can, like, the person who has the book can write like a very detailed way that this happens. And as long as it's physically possible, it's going to happen that way. And so the whole show is like murder mystery type. And so for true crime fans, it's really fun, except for you as the viewer know who the killer is the whole time.
Right.
And so you see them try to like sidestep the law and get away with it.
Or justify their actions.
God, yes. Obnoxious character, in my opinion. I hated him. Like, I don't know how much of a spoiler it is because it's from the very start of the show, but I won't say any names or anything just to be on the safe side. But especially because we binged it, so you know how details kind of get muddled in your brain. But the entire time, I'm just like, he definitely fits into that serial killer trope. He's narcissistic. He's psychopathic. He does not care about anybody, including his own family. He thinks he's smarter than everybody else.
Yep.
He has a literal God complex. Like, he literally says, I'm going to be God of the new world. Like, it's intense. But there was one point watching it, which I'm sure my whole family just like really appreciated, where I was he was just being a straight up creeper, which I'm sure I'm sure he felt he was being highly intelligent and one step ahead of everybody else when really he wasn't. And
right.
And I was just like, I sang, which I'm not going to sing on this. I'm not going to embarrass myself. I sang, "You're just a narcissistic psychopath. You're not as charming as you think you are."
That's fantastic.
And everyone just ignored me. I'm sure they were just like, oh my God. And like, I kept debating because, like I said, the oldest one had already seen it. So she would just check in to see where we were. But the 7-year-old has never seen it. So we were watching it together and we were like hardcore just debating because to her, it's this entirely fictional show where he's just writing name in a notebook and he's only killing criminals, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, but no. He fits every checkbox of a serial killer, like in real life. And so, I don't know. Anyways, I really enjoyed it. But this is all relevant. I'm not just like fangirling over the show, although I freaking loved it. About 7 episodes in on our first night binge watching, I like turned to my husband and I was like, okay, I know what I'm going to cover this week or this episode. I always say this week, but we're not a weekly podcast. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to cover Shinigami. Now, Shinigami, translated from Japanese to English on Google Translate, is just the Grim Reaper.
Oh,
the word itself is a combination of the words shi, which means death, and kami, which means god or spirit. So like gods of death.
Nice.
So in Death Note, Shinigami are these like big monstrous beings that live in the Shinigami realm. The ones in the show are all kind of like tall, lanky, creepy, I guess like demonic looking like monsters basically. And one of the Shinigami is and they have the death notes. That's how, because they are gods of death, so they have the death notes. And so one of the Shinigami is the one who dropped the death note into the human world just because he wanted to see what would happen. He was kind of bored.
I read a book like that.
Yes, you did. So in the show, there's a lot of rules of the Shinigami, such as like the only way you can kill one is if they fall in love with a human. Only the people who touch the actual notebook can see the Shinigami. It's like a whole bunch of rules, but it doesn't appear that those came from actual like Japanese lore. But actually, Shinigami did not exist in most of Japan's folklore up until about the 18th or 19th centuries in the Edo period. I meant to look that up. I don't know if I said that right. Edo, it's Edo. Anyways, so it didn't really start showing up into literature or anything until that time period. And like it showed up in like puppet theater, like the Japanese puppet theater, and in stories that pertain to evil spirits possessing people, etc. But basically, in this time period in history, it's when Western culture, especially Christianity, began to mix into the Eastern cultures, such as like traditional Shinto, Buddhist, Taoist beliefs, stuff like that. And so while there were already various gods of death in some of the religions, the notion of a Grim Reaper type being didn't previously exist, and thus Shinigami appeared.
Huh.
But Shinigami are not identical to the Western idea of the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper, of course, is, as we know, the terrifying personification of death.
Well, if you think about it, in our culture, and I don't know how far our version of the Grim Reaper goes, but it's a cloaked figure with a scythe, and they
skeleton
usually a skeleton, or like a black swirly vortex instead of a face. Like, it's not pleasant,
right? But in
so
Japanese
it makes sense
culture,
that in Japanese culture they would also be terrifying.
Not necessarily, though, as you'll see. In Japanese culture, death is often like less scary and more just like the natural cycle of life. And so as a whole, Shinigami are just those who keep the cycle running smoothly. But it kind of changes over the years, probably because it didn't exist for most of Japan's history.
Right.
So it kind of started out in literature, like in the stories and stuff, where like they kind of were just like an explanation for death, especially suicides. And then it kind of evolved into being like more like ghost stories, like they possess people or whatever, or like drive the humans insane, but like want to die to get away, like stuff like that. And then more recently in stories, they become more like the immortal gods who make deals with the mortals to extend their own lives, which is basically Ryuk in Death Note. He is the one who dropped the notebook into the human world, because one of the rules, like I mentioned earlier, one of the rules was that like the more names are in the Death Note, the longer the Shinigami's life. And so all those people.
So is it they get life from collecting souls?
I guess essentially, I'm not going to lie, because we watched it so fast, there are some details that I'm not quite clear on. So somebody who's been watching Death Note since it came out decades ago is probably like, she's butchering it. But
I mean, we're not claiming to be experts on like literally anything in life.
This is just a show I binge watched with my kids over the last week.
Right. We're experts on distracted conversation, and that's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. But going back to how they look, because you had talked about them being scary, we talked about the Grim Reaper, but by the way, apparently the Grim Reaper's look, with them being a skeleton's obvious because death, but like the robes and everything dates back to the Black Plague in Europe, because everything goes back to the Black Plague in Europe, doesn't it? But
ring around the rosy. Yeah, you know.
But basically, I guess like the robes that the Grim Reaper wears are supposed to be like the religious people's robes.
Oh, like the cloaks that they wear in the religion.
Yeah, like monks, like monks.
Yeah.
And like and then of course like the scythe would be a harvesting tool. They're harvesting souls. But
that's deep, man.
But then Shinigami, there's not one clear way that they look. Sometimes they're said to appear like a god, other times more like what we would typically consider just like a ghost. And then other times like the demon-like figure, like in the show.
Do they ever appear as beautiful creatures to lure you to your death, like sirens?
I wouldn't guess so. Like, I didn't see anything that said that. Like, I wouldn't guess so, just because in most instances, they're just the people who take you to death more so than causing your death.
Oh, gotcha. I was going to say that would be an interesting twist.
It would. We got sirens for that. No. I guess in this case, it's kind of going back to like our first episode or whatever, it's kind of similar to the Banshee, where it's like they're not doing anything in some of the stories, because we've already talked about how the stories change with Shinigami, but in some instances, they're kind of just there to show you death is coming, kind of like how Banshees are. But so in general, Shinigami tend to be a lot less scary than how people typically think of like the Grim Reaper. They're not trying to harvest your soul. They just wait for you to die. And then escort you. And one thing even said they politely invite you to join them as they escort you. But I mean, like, hey, it's time to go. You're dead. No, I'm not.
Okay, side note, because my brain works this way. You said a bajillion times that you were a geek on Greek mythology.
Uh-huh.
So would they be kind of like the guy that at the river is Styx or whatever? The like you give the coins to that they transport you to the afterworld?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
I don't remember his name. I know he has one.
Oh my God.
I don't remember it. Let's call him Bob. That's all I got.
I don't know if I'm saying this right. Aaron. It's CH or KHARON. I don't speak Greek though. Chiron?
Maybe. That sounds
Sharon?
Maybe right. Not Charmin.
It started. Toilet paper. It started with an O. But I'm probably getting that mixed up with something else. But no.
We need to do a whole episode on Greek mythology because I think that would be so much fun.
I could talk for days. I literally one time when I was like in middle school, one of my Christmas presents was this big foldable, it's massive family tree of Greek mythology. Like it's like all Zeus's kids, like all that. And we all know Zeus had like an infinite amount of kids.
All the kids. He had all the kids.
So that thing is huge. I got that for Christmas one year. So I could talk forever on Greek mythology. But anyway.
Coming soon to the GABB podcast, Greek mythology.
100 part episode. No. Greek mythology is my favorite. I love it. But
I love it too. I just don't know as much as you do.
I don't remember a lot of it, but I have books. And like I said, I have that family tree and stuff. But so Shinigami, that's what we're talking about tonight.
Right. No. Sorry, my medicine's wearing off.
No, you're good. So a lot of the stories surrounding Shinigami tend to revolve around suicide, like I mentioned earlier. And I personally don't want to talk about that too much, just because.
We will get into something about that at the end of the episode. I have a note I'd like to bring up.
Okay.
But, until then,
sure.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So I just didn't want to focus on that. That is something that happens kind of a lot in Death Note too, but it's still not really suicide because a freaking murderer is making them by writing it in the notebook. But anyways, so I guess I could kind of appreciate that they put that in the anime though, just because it kind of goes along with real Shinigami, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Like they're true to the lore, which I appreciate.
Yeah. But I don't want to get into like that, obviously. So, but like there are some sources in the sources links on the episode. There's a YouTube video specifically that kind of goes into a little bit more detail if you like want to learn more about that. But anyways, the only reason I even bring that up, even though I don't want to talk about it, is that one of the comments on the YouTube video that's in the link straight up says, it sounds like Shinigami are literally depression.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I can see that.
I thought about in the rest of my research or watching the show or anything. And like, yeah, I could see that. I could see that being the personification of depression. And that's why it always goes that way.
Absolutely.
But,
well, and if it's not depression, I mean, in our culture, we have the devil whispers in your ear, you know, the demon on your shoulder, like all that stuff.
Right.
It could be something as simple as just do it. What's it going to hurt? Just try, you know, crap like that. And I'm not saying that that's what they do because I didn't do the research on this. However, maybe it's something similar to that.
Maybe. But there was one traditional story that was posted on ancient-origins.net. I'll have that link below as well, because that's where I got a lot of my information that I was going to share, just because it kind of shows the Shinigami in action per actual traditional tales. And I liked that. So it's just called A Shinigami Story. And then now I'm reading. So this is not my words. In one traditional tale, a man who is fed up with his life prepares to commit suicide. Before he could do so, however, he is visited by a Shinigami who tells him that his time has not yet come. The Shinigami also explains that each life is measured on a candle, and once the flame burns out, the person dies. This shows that the Shinigami have no control over who lives and dies. To stop the man from committing suicide, the Shinigami tells him an easy way to make money. The man is told that he could pretend to be a doctor who could cure any form of disease. By speaking some magic words, the Shinigami can be forced back into the underworld, thus lengthening a person's life. The man is also informed that this would only work if the Shinigami is sitting at the foot of the bed. If the Shinigami is sitting at the head of the bed, however, it means that the sick person must die. Using this newfound knowledge, the man grew very rich. One day, the man is called to a house to cure someone. When he enters, he sees the Shinigami and is sitting at the head of the patient's bed, indicating that death was certain. The family pleaded and begged and offered him a large amount of money. Consumed by greed, the man decides to take a risk. When the Shinigami dozes off, he quickly switches the orientation of the patient's bed, thus saving his or her life. The Shinigami is obviously unhappy with what he did, and when the man reaches home, it criticizes him for his disobedience. The Shinigami then changed his tone and suggests that they go out for a drink to celebrate his earnings. The man falls for the trick, and the Shinigami brings him to a building that is filled with candles. The Shinigami shows the man his candle, which is nearly burnt out as a result of what he had done. The man is then offered a chance to extend his life by transferring the wick and wax of his candle to another's. The man fails in this attempt as he drops the candle and dies.
Damn.
The end. So that was interesting. But
that is interesting. And like, not only from like a, wow, that's cool because it relates to a show you watch, like blah, blah, blah. It's interesting because it's learning about someone else's culture. And I feel like whitewashing is so common in our society, and
absolutely.
Other people's cultures just get lost. And I am so intrigued by learning about the way that other people's cultures are,
especially
because there's more than just America, people.
Yeah, and we have listeners in more than just America, allegedly.
Oh, by the way, shout out to Germany.
Germany,
hey, thanks for listening.
Brand new. I think we haven't mentioned Germany yet. So yeah,
if we have, sorry to repeat ourselves, but we're still
excited. Oh, hey, we said the same thing. But I also, going back to what you were saying, it's especially interesting because Shinigami allegedly came about in Japanese folklore because of the Grim Reaper. So the fact that it's still not the same as the Grim Reaper is really interesting too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all of that to say, if you like mysteries and anime, go watch Death Note. Remember, make sure it's the anime, not the live action, or you'll be sorely disappointed. So I hear
on the live action. So there's that.
I don't know if my mic picked that up, but the 10-year-old chimed in. Yes.
But yeah, she would know. She's the expert.
She's the one who watched 10 minutes and turned it off because it was such a ripoff. But so yeah, that's the Shinigami, the Japanese gods of death.
Okay, now to go back to the topic of suicide, September is National Suicide Awareness Month. I'm going to be extremely vulnerable here. My daughter passed away in January due to suicide. This is not something I say for sympathy or for pity, but I say this because of what I'm about to say next. There are a lot of things in this world that no one has ever prepared us for. There are things that no one should ever have to deal with. Everyone deals with their issues and emotions differently. Some bottle them up inside and others wear them on their sleeves. However, September is National Suicide Awareness Month. Despite the stigma that comes with the subject, whether it comes from religious or personal beliefs, just know from how it's viewed as a society, no one can really say they know what someone is going through, and it drives someone through what they are dealing with deeper into a hole. There's a quote from an author, David Foster Wallace, that has stuck with my family throughout this past year, and I think it explains pretty well the desperation and I'm sorry, I'm trying not to cry. The desperation of suicide, and is probably the most enlightening thing I've read on the subject. He dealt with major depression for more than 20 years and ultimately suffered the same fate, suicide, in September of 2008. This is something that will stick with me forever, and I hope anyone out there who can understand what people are dealing with and how suicide comes into play will take this to heart. And by the way, people, I'm not looking for you to debate me. come at me. I'm nice. I will put it that way. I will not be nice if anyone comes at me sideways about suicide because of how I've dealt with this year. The quote by David Foster Wallace says, "The so-called psychologically depressed person who tries to kill herself does not do so out of, quote, hopelessness, or any abstract conviction that life's assets and debris are not square, and surely not because death seems suddenly appealing. The person in whom it is inevitable agony reaches a certain unendurable level will kill herself the same way a trapped person will eventually jump from the window of a burning high-rise. Make no mistake about a person who leaps from burning windows. Their terror of falling from a great height is still just as great as it would be for you or me standing effectively at the same window, just checking out the view. An example, the fear of falling remains a constant. The variable here is that the other terror is the fire." End quote. I say all this because I want you all to know there is help. There is light at the end of the tunnel. I've had the hardest year of my life. And each day comes highs and lows. It comes in waves. No day is ever set in stone to be perfect or horrible. And some days it's just too damn much. But I am an advocate for my mental health, and my mental health awareness is my responsibility, just as it is yours. If you feel like you are struggling, reach out to a friend, a colleague, and especially a medical professional. Don't ever feel like you are beyond hope, because you're not. In our show notes, we will have the suicide awareness hotline and their website and their chat links. We'll have it all. And if you need to private message someone, our box is always open. Always.
First of all, I'm not going to add on anything because Anna completely covered my thoughts on this all. But I also wanted to say, on a different but still heavy note, I do know that we have some listeners in Louisiana. And I'm sure, I know that there's still flooding and stuff happening in other parts of the country as well. And I just want to say our thoughts are with you guys dealing with Hurricane Ida.
Absolutely.
It's just been awful.
My friend Kristen, her entire family is in a town that I will not state for their privacy, but they have lost damn near everything. And I cried when I found out. I want to cry now thinking about it. It's devastating. It's heart-wrenching. And Kristen and Tony are my people. So their people by association are my people, even though I've never met them in person. And my heart goes out to them and the other families affected down there. I mean, if there's anything we can do, if you guys have GoFundMes that you are trying to share, send them to us privately. We will post them on our Facebook page. We have no problem doing that. We want our listeners to feel loved and heard and appreciated and seen. So if there's anything we can do to help, big or small, even if it's just a prayer, let us know.
I know we got kind of heavy there at the end. I know we usually stay on the escapism side of life, but some things just need to be talked about.
Sorry we got so heavy, listeners. Unfortunately, life is not always pretty or pleasant or fun. And the world we live in right now is very uncertain because of COVID. And on top of that, there's tropical storms and depression and fucking, you name it, we got it. It's been a fun year and a fun last year before this one. So sorry to be so heavy. Our next episode, we will be a little less dark, hopefully.
Hopefully. And this is a true crime podcast.
And look for an episode coming soon about our book review for A Simple Favor.
Make sure you read the book first. We're going to talk about the movie too, so watch the movie too if you don't want
And
spoilers.
we may have a special surprise for you on that episode. No promises, but I mean, it's
we got things on the works.
So until next time, listeners, stay spooky.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello.
Hey, Anna. Is that a new outfit? You look super cute.
It is. I just went to this really cute store in town called Mainstream Boutique.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's a really awesome store. It's like my little hidden secret. It's locally owned by a really wonderful woman named Kim. She's the kindest, most genuine person I've ever met. It's a women's retail boutique that offers a unique selection of clothes and apparel and accessories for all generations. So teenagers to 20 and up. It's magic. I mean, we've talked for years about what do we wear? I don't know what to wear at this age. I don't want to look like a teenager. This store is the store that has changed my outlook on how I appear as an adult.
Oh, that's so cool.
You
said it's a local store?
Yeah, it's local to Shawnee, Oklahoma, but they do ship.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to get on that website. What's their website?
Their website is mainstreamboutique.com. They also have a Facebook page, which is Mainstream Boutique of Shawnee. They're a apparel and accessories for multi-generations. Their mission, which I really stand behind, is to empower, strengthen, and celebrate women in the world throughout fashion. And I think that's so...
Oh, I love that.
And
I'm going right now to check that out, especially if they ship. That's awesome.
It's mainstreamboutique.com or Mainstream Boutique of Shawnee. We'll put all the links in our bio, but I have an exclusive for you guys. Are you ready?
What?
I talked to the owner today. For our listeners only, you get 10% off your full ticket items.
Oh my God.
All full priced items when you ring up, 10% off, whether it's online or in person. And if you go in person, tell them we said, hey, they said to use the code GABB for a discount code. And if you use our discount code, you get 10% off all full price items of your entire ticket. How cool is that?
That is amazing. I can't wait to go check it out.
Well, the next time you come visit me, we'll have to have a shopping spree.
I'm in.
GABB is your promo code. Thank you for listening to Ghosts in the Attics, Bodies in the Basement, a Fearscape Media podcast. Music by Stephen Timperley. Artwork by Laura Ramsey. Find us online at fearscapemedia.com/GABB podcast or on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at GABB podcast or email us gabbpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you.